and welcome back to another episode of Arts Respond on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. I'm your host, Lucy Gellman, and today I am so excited to be here with Rebekah Fraser, and we are talking about trash to fashion. Before we get into that, I should just say that Arts Respond is a collaboration between the Arts Council of Greater New Haven, where I work, and WNHH Community Radio, which is the sister station to the New Haven Independent. Rebekah, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. And I just want to describe, since this is audio and radio for folks, that you are wearing the most epic earrings made
Thank
from
you.
windscreens, I think.
Window screens, yeah.
Window screens.
Yeah.
And then a rubber ducky that you found in Edgewood Park, so which I think will be topical to this conversation.
Totally.
But they're very glam and pretty whimsical in a world that doesn't feel whimsical. So let's get right into it. I want to talk about what trash to fashion is, and then maybe we'll hop back in the Wayback Machine and talk about how you got into this. But introduce trash to fashion to, for folks who maybe are scratching their heads.
Sure. So first of all, Lucy, it's so awesome to be with you. I just have to say that. I love our chats always, wherever they happen.
Me too.
Trash to Fashion is an organization that produces online media and zero waste events to teach people how to turn trash into fashion so that we can reduce pollution and create a healthier environment for all of us.
I think that's, I thought I had muted myself and I realized I didn't. So I think that's so cool. And I know that you founded it in January of this year, 2025, but I feel like that takes away from the fact that you have this long background as someone who cares deeply about and has been very active in sort of different ways of thinking about environmental stewardship. And so I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that work and how that led into this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been, I became an environmentalist in the early 90s when I learned about organic food and the real detriment that conventional farming chemicals produce on the environment and on human health. And then years later, more than a decade later, I fell into journalism. It was truly, it's not even my intention. But I had the opportunity to write an article about landmines in coffee growing regions and the effects that that was having. And one of the people I interviewed said to me, the indigenous populations in Colombia and Nicaragua, where we're seeing a lot of landmines still present from wars that occurred decades ago, these people view landmines as a rape of the earth. And that really stuck with me. All these years later, that interview was 2007. And that was like the first article that I wrote was about that. And from that, other opportunities emerged, an opportunity to write about electronic waste for an audience of waste management professionals. I knew nothing about that subject until I was assigned the article, and then I had to go and interview folks and learn all about it, and that was stunning. I learned about food waste and composting and how in a landfill, carrots, not just carrots, but food doesn't even decompose. And there was a study done in San Francisco that showed like newspapers that were 40 years old that hadn't decomposed, carrots that were like still fully intact. And there are a lot of problems with this, and I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole, which I sense myself doing. But not the least of which is we are putting things into landfills that are actually resources. And so there tends to be a lot of scarcity mindset in the culture that like, oh, I don't have enough of this. Oh, I need to get, my refrigerator's only half full. I need to go get more food. Well, in Connecticut alone, households in Connecticut throw away 1.06 billion pounds of food a year. And I mean, first of all, let's think about all the people that we see who are hungry. And that food, sure, sometimes it has gone bad and is inedible, but very often it's perfectly edible. But we took too much at a buffet, or we took too much at the family dinner, or, whatever. Like we didn't want to take leftovers home because we don't like leftovers. Like all these choices that people make without thinking about it, um, that that come from these stories we tell ourselves that are just like we could tell ourselves more helpful stories. And anyway, so your question was like, how did I get um, how did I like get involved in this and how long have my journey as an environmentalist has just taken a lot of twists and turns over the decades and included like having a blog called Conscious Cow, which was all about like um, the practice of creative waste diversion, which basically just means finding interesting ways to keep things out of landfills. So, yeah, and part of one of those ways is turning trash into clothing and jewelry.
Well, and I also love that. I mean, you mentioned overconsumption of like food and electronics, and this is, I won't say who it is, not
Mhm.
that she will ever listen to this, but someone in my family is always like that. Like, I have to have the new iPhone, and I'm like, but girl, your iPhone is perfectly good. Like, it still
Yes,
makes calls and sends text and goes on the apps you want to go on. Y- yeah, and those use both extractive mining practices, so and then create waste. So we're thinking of like levels and levels. But of course, overconsumption within the fashion industry, I
Mhm.
feel like is something that we are like starting to talk about, and I'm afraid that it's too little too late. Um,
Yeah,
and it's like there are so many multiple levels to that too, right? Because if you're working within a fixed income, you
yeah.
can't specifically afford a beautifully made all-American garment in sustainable fabrics that is $450 if we're actually talking about the cost of someone's labor, right? Like that's prohibitive for like certainly for myself, but for most Americans that I know. Um,
Absolutely. And that's why I thrift. That's
yeah,
why I almost never buy anything new. I mean, undergarments, sure, bathing suits,
sure.
but like shirts, sweaters, dresses. I go to Savers, I go to Goodwill, I go to other thrift stores, I go to clothing swaps, I make stuff. I have a
Hmm.
really cute shirt that I made from a tablecloth that a friend gave
Mm,
me. It was beautiful linen fabric, but it had holes in it and stains. And so I just cut the part that was not stained and didn't have holes into a t-shirt shape, sewed it. It's got like a nice little boat neck, kind of elegant. And
amazing.
but then I cut it a little bit too short. So I was like, oh shoot, what am I going to do with this? And I just let it sit for like a year. And then last week, my trash to fashion team and I got together to make trashin. And I had this piece, I had a table runner that I'd gotten at
Mm,
Goodwill. Again, like beautiful fabric, but it had holes in it. And the ends of it were lace. So I cut off this like, I don't know if it's hand crocheted, but this crocheted lace
yeah.
and then used fabric tape. I didn't even sew it. I just used fabric tape to affix the lace onto the bottom of the shirt. And it's super cute.
I bet it's adorable. I was gonna say when you were like, well, it was too short. I want to be like, well, cropped stuff is in again.
Well, it is, but
Yeah.
I've reached this point in my life where I'm like, okay, I think I'm not doing the cropped shirt.
That's another episode. I think you could
Yeah.
rock. I think anybody is a beautiful body and anybody can rock a crop top, right? But
Okay. That's good.
we can I can have you back on my body positivity episode,
I
which
love that.
we
I
need to
love
have.
that.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, so let's talk about trashing. I love that oh, what's the word? It's not sober quit. It's like when you mash two things together.
Oh yeah. I don't know what that word is, but
Yeah, but portmanteau.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the humidity melted my brain earlier today, so it's still like in a little sloppy pile in my head.
Me
But yeah, so let's talk about Trashin, and also the way that you've built this, because you have a partnership with the Ely Center of Contemporary Art, which I think is really cool. You have
too.
fiscal sponsorship from Dwight Hall. You have marketing support from the New Haven Solid Waste Recycling Authority, which maybe is something that people don't think about a lot, right?
Right.
And then a little bit of funding from the Community Foundation. And so these are like different and beloved in their own ways community partners. So I would love to know, how this is gaining momentum before the first event that you have in October. And we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk
Sorry,
about
that was
gaining
like five
momentum.
questions.
No, no, no. So this was perfect. This my head is spinning, Lucy. Like I literally, I mean not literally, but really close to literally. Um, we just last week got a grant from the New England Grassroots Environmental Fund. So yeah, super excited about that. I heard from another funder that I will not name because it's not in stone yet, but I had applied for a micro grant, and this is just today. And they wrote to say, oh, but we also do event sponsorships. Would you consider that? And I'm like, yes, of course. So, and here's the funny thing. So, our first event is no longer in October. It starts July 19th.
Oh
And
my
here,
gosh. Well,
yeah,
this is
no.
so timely. I love it. It was in October, y'all. This is the beauty of community radio.
Yeah.
So when we first connected about this, it was in October. Now it's in July 19th. If you heard me say October over the airwaves, just disregard that.
Yeah, we
Well,
do
let's
still
talk about this
have
first event.
the first event. So everything has changed. The event that I told you about in October is still happening. It's just that it's now the last event of the year. Um, so last week, I found out that we were invited to use the storefront at 63 Audubon Street, right next to Aces, across the street from all the arts organizations, you and CAW and Community Foundation. So there's an empty storefront there, and we have been invited to use it for a pop-up exhibit and events. Yeah, so from July 17th until August, I'm blanking on that date, but let me actually tell you what we're up to. So Monday, I met with Ben, who is the gallery manager at Yale School of Art, who owns the property. And this is what we worked out. We're having a pop-up trash to fashion. I'm blanking on that date, but let me actually tell you what we're up to. So Monday, I met with Ben, who is the gallery manager at Yale School of Art, who owns the property. And this is what we worked out. We're having a pop-up trash to fashion exhibit from July 19th until August 17th. This is featuring garments and accessories by New Haven's top designers. I mean, people who you've very recently seen on Instagram and Facebook and all over and in the New Haven Independent. People who were just in a fashion show on Sunday. We've got some of those people participating, and other top designers from New Haven and visual artists, as well as a couple of new and emerging artists, including one of the members of my core Trash to Fashion team. Derek is not even an artist. He is an ardent environmentalist, and he was one of the two people who came with me to present Trash to Fashion at the Yale Innovation Summit. And we decided that we would go dressed in trashin'. And of course, he didn't have anything. So we got together. I showed him how to make trashin, helped him, but then he took it over. He made a window screen and target bag vest with buttons made from plastic bottle caps. And he learned to sew so that he could finish embellishing this garment on his own. So I think since this kind of action, this someone who's never made a garment before, learning how and then doing it and then learning added skills to like make it what they really want, that's exactly what Trash to Fashion is about. So, of course, I want to display his vest. It's super cool. And as a side note, last Tuesday when we all got together to make more stuff, he brought his little dog and made a matching vest for the dog. It's so cute. I'll be posting that on Instagram.
Oh, it's very sweet. I also think like you mentioned I mean I'm also interested in the fellowship aspect of this. And
Mhm.
I mean that like lowercase fellowship, so in a secular sense, but
Yeah.
just people getting together to practice skills, to converse with each other, to talk about that. We're like increasing, I'm gonna sound like a crotchety old lady. Um, but I feel like we are increasingly like everyone I know doom scrolls. I doom scroll.
Mhm.
And I think that for some people they mistake social media for a sense of connection in a way that's real like really devastating actually. And so
Right.
I'm wondering if this also really encourages people to like come together and mm, like recognize the fact that they are in physical space together on this planet that we are not taking very good care of, Rebecca.
Yeah, totally. Totally. This is about building community. At this time, more than ever, we need to build our community. We need to connect in person, IRL. Like it's really important. And, one thing that social media has done to, especially the younger people who really grew up with it, is produce a sense that one has to be perfect, that one has to do it right the first time or they've blown it. And that is not true. That's a really harmful story to tell oneself and others. Scientists don't think that way. I spent years interviewing scientists. It's an iterative process. Artists, many artists, writers, we don't think that way. Like we all know the first crack at something is usually going to suck. Like you have, sorry, God, I didn't sleep much and it's hard not. That actually, as far as the words that could be coming out of my
I
mouth.
was going to say that's innocuous language, especially this week with everything happening from the
Right,
federal
right.
government. You're good.
Yeah, okay, good. I'll try and keep it at that level or below. But we recognize that you don't get it right the first try and you're not supposed to. And so what we're really trying to encourage is a sense of exploration in community. Like, let's learn skills together, let's explore, let's practice them, and let's celebrate. So we've got this exhibit on July 25th, which is a Friday from 5 to 7 p.m. We'll have the opening reception. So we're doing a soft open on the 19th, but then the reception is the 25th. And of course, that is also at 63 Audubon Street. And that is going to be a bit of an unusual art opening because it also features a local author that I think you and I both love, Lucy. Her name is Tara L. Roy.
No way.
Yes, and she has just published, or not just, she's about to publish in November this book. I'm holding the galley, which means I have to review it. And
Is it a romance about slow fashion?
it's a romance about a trash fashion artist who dreams of building an upcycled fashion house.
Okay.
And the eco-friendly angel investor who believes in her. And yes, of course, they fall in love.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, I love that. We need stories. I was telling someone this earlier today because they were like, "Oh, the world is so depressing," and it is. The world is legitimately very depressing.
Yes,
What's happening is a crisis. It's really scary,
absolutely.
and it is fascism, and so I want to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And we still need stories about love and joy,
Yes, because that
and
is
slow fashion and eco consciousness.
as you know, Tara's previous books really focused on like, hey, look at this. This is climate change. Like, this is what it feels like to be in a climate disaster. And I'm glad I wrote those. There's a place for that. But this is like a rom-com for, you know, people in their 40s and older and younger. I mean, but the characters are in their 40s. This is a rom-com featuring an environmental theme, yes, but also a solution. So the books that I'm writing now and publishing as Tara are focusing on steps that we can take to heal our environment, to stop the harm, and to heal our environment. So, although a climate disaster does occur in this book, it does not occur to these characters, but it does inspire them to act in a certain way. So, which is, you know, really what I'd like to see more people doing is like, wow, look at that horrible thing that happened. I can actually do something to help, or I can do something to heal, or whatever. Um, so anyway, so Tara, I'm going to be two different people at that opening reception. I'm going to be myself, and then I'm going to be reading as Tara. Um, Tara will read from this book, which is coming out in November, Refashioned by Love. Then on August 9th, we are having a workshop called Think Like a Trashionista. And again, at 63 Audubon Street, you'll get to learn how to see materials differently and how to conceive and even sketch garments that are made from trash. I will be leading that workshop along with Deborah Wolf, who is, she now makes baby blankets that are all circular organic cotton, and her whole process is circular. It's not fashion because it's blankets, but she was a sweater designer for the fashion industry for many years. And she was one of the first to insist on using organic cotton instead of regular cotton, because she didn't want to be responsible for putting the really toxic chemicals into the earth that regular cotton production, involves. So anyway, she's passionate about materials. She's like obsessed with, she can tell you like, well, linen will drape this way, but silk will drape that way, and neoprene will, and just having that kind of information helps you to think about what kind of garment you can make with certain fabrics or materials, it often also trash. So she'll be focusing more on the fabric side. I'll be focusing more on the trash side because I do love to work with things like food wrappers, and window screen is a favorite material of mine. And other just random things that I find on the street, broken car mirrors and stuff. I sterilize everything, by the way, just as a note.
There
Um,
was no judgment. I mean,
okay.
like on behalf of like I care about public health, and that sounds great because even if you have a tetanus shot, maybe you shouldn't be like walking around with bits of car mirror that haven't been sterilized.
That's right.
Um, yeah, but so on your behalf, I'm very happy to hear that. But I mean, I trust your process.
All right, thanks. So that Think Like a Trashionista workshop, that is free to attend, but registration is required. So you definitely want to get on our newsletter so that you will find out when registration opens. That will also put you in line to find out first when registration opens for the October 11th Trash to Fashion workshop and ball, which is happening at Brigamos Community Theater. And I love this space. I mean, not only because Rafael Ramos is a total sweetheart and a delight, but also because it is completely accessible. It's 1 block from the bus line. There's ample parking, and it's wheelchair accessible. And so, anyone can come, as long as they can get out of the house, and find a way there, they can attend this event. Again, free to attend, but with advanced registration. And what it is a 90-minute trash and making workshop led by me. Some other, Lauren Sprague is a stylist for Saks. She worked with Neville Wisdom for many years. Sewell Golden is a member of our core team, the Trash to Fashion working group team. She's a costume designer who teaches at Barnard. And she's like also designed costumes for film, and she's really cool. She sent me a picture of this plastic like food wrapper jacket that she just made in the last couple of days. And I'm just in love with this thing. I forgot to ask if it's my size because I want it. But anyway, so Sewell and Lauren and I and Westville's own Georgie Bruckman, an up and coming designer who incidentally modeled one of my dresses in the 2017 Westville Art Walk Trash In show. She was 14 then. So I just love how this is coming back around. And if he is in the country, which I believe he plans to be at this point, T. Montgomery will also be leading that workshop with us. And he's just, I mean, that man.
So talented. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a very talented crew.
Yeah. So we've got amazing people leading this workshop. But in 90 minutes, you can only accomplish so much. And that's kind of the point where it's a no-sew workshop. We're going to be using fabric tape and safety pins and, maybe a little packaging tape or duct tape. And we will do what we can. It's about learning the process and practicing as a group in community, having fun with it, exploring. And at the end of the 90 minutes, we put on what we made, no matter how it looks, and we celebrate. And at that point, Bergamos has a capacity of about 120 people for this type of event. I don't expect 120 people will be making trash in. I imagine some folks will want to make stuff at home and then join us. And then some folks will want to come and they don't want to wear trash and they're not yet comfortable with it, but they still want to participate. That's great too. So the ball occurs after 90 minutes and we've got DJ Dulio spinning records for us, or records, dating myself,
I
spinning track,
got you.
you know what I mean? We've got photography from Miss Dina Hanscom, who founded Lotta Studio. She's another member of our core team. We have zero waste catering with rescued food from Haven's Harvest. And composting from Peels and Wheels. I don't know if you know Domingo Medina, but love him so much.
Right, Domingo, just shout out Domingo. We were thrilled because we moved and we were like, oh no, what if they don't serve our area? Because Domingo doesn't yet have the capacity to serve every neighborhood. But they do. So yeah, we use Peels and Wheels. We love them. We love you, Domingo, if you're listening.
Yes, Domingo is awesome and brilliant as well. So anyway, he's providing in-kind sponsorship by offering the service to us. And another in-kind sponsor is Goodwill of Southern New England. And I love what they're doing. They're donating glassware so that we will be not consuming anything from plastic. And the only plastic cups and bottles you will see at this event will be on people's garments. Come on. Is that not awesome? I love that so much.
It's the best.
Yeah. So, and it's family friendly. If you want to bring a child either to the workshop or, or to the ball, totally welcome. Just, do make sure that you are that you will tend to them. we don't have childcare, and parents do need to pay attention to their children, but totally family friendly. And again, free to attend with advanced registration. So that's
That's it. So as you get this project off the ground, what are some of your like hopes and dreamy dreams, and what are the conversations that you're having with people?
Oh my gosh. Well, so one of the hopes and dreamy dreams just came true, which is that you were able to have all of these events in the first year, because this was my original plan. And then, and I had like collaborators all lined up and locations, but it was going to cost more money. And then there was that ridiculous announcement in January, and I just realized there was no way we would raise the amount of money that we needed to produce 4 events. Now, because of this free space, we're able to have 4 events, including the exhibit. There is another one. We were going to do a trash and making workshop all by itself and then have the ball be separate initially. So now we've merged those. And I'm in talks with a venue, very perfectly aligned venue, to have a trash and making workshop, but that will be invite only. So that's a friend raiser event. And also we have not worked out the details, which is why I'm not saying their name. But I guess my dreamy dream at this point would be that we actually raise enough money to do all of this without overburdening anyone on my team, including myself. I take a salary from this. Given the amount of work that I'm putting into it, it's not much. Um, but and also I need to pay the artists who are participating in the ball, who are teaching. I need to pay the vendors. We do have, some in-kind sponsorships, but other vendors we don't, and I want to pay them. So I'd love to raise not only enough money to pay for everything that's in our budget this year, but to continue into next year with with funds already to go, so that we can just like hit the ground running, and even expand potentially. One thing I would love to see is more volunteer engagement. I'd love to have a street team of people of all ages who are willing to go out and capture smartphone videos that I can then edit and post on social media and on our blog, that just are, getting a bead from the community. Like, what do you know about fast fashion? Like, how do you feel when you learn these facts? Are you interested in learning another way? Are you interested in an art form that is truly accessible no matter your income level? Because we all have trash, right? And so are you interested in that? Like, and then also to get a beat on like the experiences that people are having at our events. What does this exhibit mean to you? Like, what are you getting from this? How does it feel to like hear a work of fiction that is, so closely related to the reality that we're inhabiting? And does that make you think about things in a different way? How does it feel to like learn how to see materials differently? How do you feel now that you've made your first trash fashion garment? Like, all of this is information I'd love to get. And then I'd love to also find out, like, what do people in the community think, not only about these events, or these events you'd like to see next year as well, but like, is there another event related to trash fashion, or to, maybe to food waste? Like, is there another type of waste related event that you would love to attend, and participate in? Yeah, I just, So, but right now we don't have a street team. So every once in a while I, get up the guts to approach some random person on the street and, and ask if I can ask some questions. And I just posted one of those videos yesterday, actually, Tuesday. But so by the time you watch this or listen to it, it will not be yesterday, but Tuesday. Um, but yeah, so I'd love to have more people joining us. We have a volunteer opportunities page on our website. And instead of describing all of the possible ways you can get involved, we're actually inviting you to just introduce yourself to us. We have a really brief survey. It's just one page. Just, inviting you to share some basic things like what are, skills that you have that you'd like to share? Like how much time do you have in a week or a month? Do you want to do this regularly, or would you like to just like help us set up for an event one day? Um, Really simple questions that would help us to then reach out and say, oh, okay, we got your info and we think you might be interested in this opportunity. Are you? Um, so yeah, I guess those are my dreams. I mean, then there's like dreams about the impact that this might have.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was going to ask you about that too. This is something that if you know her, the curator, Martha Lewis, and I talk about a lot because she uses like only thrifted clothes and she recycled materials to the best of her ability. And she's an artist, and so she's really thought about, okay, how do I make my own individual practice more sustainable? So
Mhm.
like replacing the acrylic paints that she has, but of course before replacing them, using them up and
Yes,
probably not just chucking them because they're bad for
that's
the environment. Right, exactly. Um, and one thing she talks about is all of this, like, sure, she feels good and virtuous and all that stuff, right? And to a certain degree, it's all symbolic
Mhm.
until it also happens on a corporate level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I agree with that. It's all symbolic until it either happens on a massive community scale or at the corporate level. But, there are more of us than there are corporations.
That's
And,
right.
and every corporation is made up of employees who have personal lives and who also can make choices at work. If your office doesn't have a recycling bin. I mean, I can't imagine one that doesn't, but let's just pretend. Um, if they don't have a recycling bin, why not take that paper home and put it in your own recycling bin? Like, simple choices like that. Also, things like, do you need a new car every 2 years? Obviously not. Like, it's perfect. I mean, my car is a mess at this point. It's got more than a few dents, but it still runs and it runs great. And, I have a mechanic I love and trust. And so it's now, 10, 11 years old with 143,000 miles on it. And I'm going to drive it into the ground because that's a more sustainable choice. That's healthier, means we're, you know, producing fewer cars. Imagine if more people in New Haven made that choice. Imagine if, a tenth of the population or even 1% of the population in New Haven decided to move their money from a bank that invests in fossil fuel companies to a bank that doesn't. That would be approximately 1,300 people moving their money. That's actually significant. And, that when you make that kind of action, then maybe corporations start to realize, oh, yeah, I guess it doesn't make sense for us to keep investing in the fossil fuel industry because all these people are taking their money away from us. But if all we do is hold up signs and say, hey, divest, 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 that's a great message, except they keep responding, no, no, not interested. We've got a good thing going. So, so let's make it not a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the last question I asked folks on the show, well, it's two last, and you sort of preempted it, with not your last answer, but the one before that, which was, what do you want folks to really know? If they're thinking this sounds really cool, let me get involved, let me go to events.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, what you should know is sign up for our newsletter. Visit trash2fashion.substack.com. Um, or, find us on Instagram, Google Trash to Fashion US. We have a link tree, but find your way to our newsletter because that is how you will be informed about what is happening and how you can get involved. It's also the great thing about Substack is it's both a blog and a newsletter. So you can return to that resource if you deleted the email, guess what? It's on the website. Um, and you can not only find out what we're up to, but the other resources that we intend to post over time. And again, this is another reason to have more funding, whether it's, hey, organization, if you want to sponsor us, or individual with, deep pockets, if you would like to sponsor us, we welcome your contribution because it will help us to continue producing media, whether it's, resource lists or videos, how-tos, connecting people with, these are local clothing swaps happening, that other folks are organizing, like, oh, you want to host a clothing swap? Here's how to do that. All sorts of resources. We want this to be an ongoing place that people come to learn and to be inspired so that they feel empowered to make different choices, to buy materials that are healthier, to buy clothing that is healthier. We obviously, occasionally we do need to buy new clothing, but where can you buy really great quality stuff secondhand? Where can you, or if you have the funds, where do you buy the stuff that's really expensive and really well made and thoughtfully produced? Um, not causing any harm. Um, so, so yeah, we want to be an ongoing resource for that. But it all, as far as you, listener, viewer, it all really starts with signing up for the newsletter. And then wander in and catch our exhibit sometime between July 19th and August 17th at 63 Audubon Street. And please join us at our opening reception. From 5 to 7 on July 25th. So,
I
yeah.
love that. I mean, the last question I always ask folks is, how are you also taking care of yourself? We're living in a time that feels economically and environmentally and politically all very precarious.
Yeah.
So how do you take care of you?
I mean, wow, that's that's a big question. One thing is I really do not doom scroll. Um, I do consume some news, but I'm careful about the sources and I'm careful about the quantity that I allow myself to engage in, because I need to keep my mental capacity to do work that I hope will make a difference. Um, and then I have, daily personal practices. I meditate every day. That helps a lot. I take a walk every day, no matter the weather. I mean, unless it's just dangerous for something like too icy, but we're not facing that issue right now. I try to be around trees. Their presence is healing. I believe this. I keep seeing, quotes about this. I want to believe those studies are real. I don't know if they are, but it feels good to me, so I do it. Um, so I have my little practices in terms of like my spiritual and, and physical practices. Um, I eat really healthy and I try to surround myself with people who care about each other as well as themselves. People who, you know, recognize that we all have the power to make a difference. I'm really fortunate to have an amazing team. Ife Michelle Gardine, Mistina Hanscom, Johnny Scafidi from Dwight Hall, Derek Faulkner from Southern, M.A. Berg from the Ely Center, and Sewell Golden. I mean, these people are, they've been with me in this journey from, the moment that well, they've trickled in at different points, but like we started meeting weekly in March, so they've been in it for a while with me. And the collaborators, I just really finding community, building community, fostering that sense of care. The relationships I've built with the folks at Haven's Harvest, it's really nurturing. Not only doing those food rescues, but also just connecting with the people there. I was there earlier today and, talking to Roberto, looking at pictures of his new baby, and like, it's just, delightful. To me, those are forms of self-care and finding hope and, and making stuff, whether I'm very slowly writing my next book, because I'm doing a lot more work with Trash to Fashion. I also work part-time for a nonprofit, and teach in the fall for a small college. So, I have a lot of different things, and less time to write than I would like, but, I'm still making stuff, making trash fashion. Just, it's a very long-winded answer, but the point is there are so many ways that we can take care of ourselves. And I try to do all of them. And my budget is super limited right now. I'm an artist, living that unfortunate stereotype of starving artist, not literally starving, but in the food sense. But, financially, it is not easy, and definitely not in this climate. So, but still, there are lots of ways to take care of yourself. And yeah, having great conversations with people like you.
I love that. So if you're listening to this and you just joined us or you joined midway in, I've been talking to Rebekah Fraser. And who am I? I'm Lucy Gellman, your host, on Arts Respond on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Go back and listen to our whole conversation. It's been great. We've been talking about Trash to Fashion, which has an upcoming event on July 19th. Not in October. There's another one in October. But I'm really excited because I thought I had to wait like 3.5 months.
Yeah,
So I just have to wait like a week and a half, which
that,
is really exciting. Rebekah, thank you so much for joining me today.
thank you, Lucy. It's always a delight to chat with you.
Oh,
And,
likewise.
yeah, and I can't wait to see you at our exhibit. And
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
yeah,
ma'am. Okay, and stay cool. Stay cool to you. Stay cool to anyone who's out there listening.
yeah,
Hydrate, drink water, all
lots of,
the things. Okay.
yes, drink water,
Bye.
reusable
Yeah,
container.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Bye, friend.
Bye.